Look, I'm going to say something and you're either going to nod your head or you're going to think that I'm lying. I can fall asleep in 30 seconds standing up in a thunderstorm on concrete. Some people think it's a medical condition. I call it a superpower, and I got it from serving in the United States military. Today, I'm breaking down 12 superpowers that the military instills in you whether you want them or not. Some of these are useful, some of these will concern your friends and family, and some of these may actually save your life. In fact, number 7 is one that friends of mine don't believe, even though I've shown them proof time and time again. We're going to start with the one that I already kind of alluded to, and that is that veterans can sleep anywhere. And I don't mean like, oh, I dozed off. I mean like full REM cycle, pile of rocks in the middle of a thunderstorm, artillery going off, dead sleep. There's probably a million different reasons for why this happens, but my assumption is that you never know when you're going to get a chance to sleep. And so when you're in hurry up and wait mode and you have nothing else to do, you might as well freaking sleep, because what else are you going to do? Like, you're not going to just disappear and not be there when they come back looking for you. So if you get somewhere 30 minutes early, nap. When you're on an airplane, nap. When you're in a truck, nap. One of the funniest examples probably of this is when I was at Fort Leonard Wood, first MOS school, first like non-boot camp place. And we would just we were in MAT platoon, which is Marines awaiting to train. And we would basically just show up and like go to sleep for hours on end, wondering if we were going to get to go train this week. You couldn't have your phone. You couldn't do anything. So like, what else is there to do? You BS with your friends, you play some cards, you go to sleep. You know, I wasn't into reading books at the time. And then on Leonard Wood, they had this thing called the cattle car. And it was literally like an old cattle car that they would shuttle us to the chow hall in. And that was like a 10-minute drive. And you're like packed in like sheep, like 100 people in this thing that should only fit like 25 and doesn't have chairs in half of it and whatever. And dudes are just sleeping all over the floor. And it's only like a 10-minute drive. You just crash and then you wake up and you do your thing and you crash and you wake up and you do your thing. It's like a weird habit, but you get on a military flight, homie's gonna be asleep before you even take off. So it is what it is. That's number 1. Off to number 2. Number 2 is calm in the chaos. This is probably the one that is the weirdest for civilians to see, is when hits the fan, vets in the room seem to get quieter, calmer. They seem to settle into a groove, right? And part of that is just training. Part of that is, you know, life experiences, whatever. But case in point, there was a really weird week for me when I was in Hawaii. I was stationed in Hawaii. I witnessed 2 really gnarly car wrecks on the highway. And in both situations, you know, I pull over and I try to help with whatever. And there were 2 or 3 other cars that did the same. It was all vets. And it was all very calm, collected, you know, handle the thing, call 911, do all the whatever. And I've seen that time and time and time and time again in emergency situations where you can tell who was in the military, because people just freak out. And then all the service members and vets that are in the area just seem to go to work and get the job done. And then afterwards, you can kind of, you know, let your emotions get in or realize what was going on. But I've witnessed people have colossal meltdowns and make the situation worse by panicking. And then I've seen time and time again where vets stay calm and collected and handle the situation. Number 3 is the internal clock. You're never going to run into a service member or vet who doesn't have a good idea what time it is. And I don't necessarily know if I should tell you that that is some magic superpower that we inherit when we go to boot camp, or if it's just beaten into you that if you're early, you're on time, and if you're on time, you're late. You gotta be 15 minutes prior to everything. You're always like, what time is it? Where do I need to be? What time is it? Where do I need to be? Because somebody is going to come out of the woodwork, knife hand drawn, and scream at you if you're like even 30 seconds late or too close to being on time to anything. And as such, vets get a pretty good internal clock as far as like breakfast, chow, you know, whatever. At boot camp, you measure by what time lunch is, or breakfast or dinner, you know, chow time. But in the military, we have a really good idea at all times of what time of day it is. And that seems to transcend pretty much everything. Even to this day, I always seem to have a really accurate depiction of what time it is, how long it's going to take to get something, you know, back planning. Okay, I need to be there at this time, so I need to leave here, which means I need to do this, which means that nobody likes to be late. Number 4 is speed eating. And this is something you learn at boot camp, where you've just got to wolf your food down as fast as humanly possible. And it becomes habitual. It's almost like you're a vacuum and you're just sucking all the food off your plate. You're not necessarily savoring everything. It's more of a like food is fuel, not enjoyment. And while you're in the military, like when you're training, you only get so much time to eat your MRE, and you better get it down, because otherwise you're back to work and you're going to be sucking wind because you're running on low calories. At boot camp, again, speed. If you don't eat fast enough, you don't get to finish your food. And so you get into this like almost, I don't want to call it food scarcity because that has a different connotation right now, but like The idea that if I don't eat this right now fast enough, I may not get another moment is something the military just breeds into you over time. And that's a really hard habit to break, to sit down and enjoy a meal as opposed to just go into town really fast. And so it's very common that I sit down and eat food and I'm done before everybody else. Number 5 is the one that causes chaos at restaurants. This is tactical seating. If you've ever gone to dinner with a veteran, you'll notice that they instinctually sit back corner of the restaurant, back against the wall. Where can I see the most of the room? I don't want to sit at the bar with my back to the entire restaurant. I don't want to sit by the exit. This is not necessarily something that's taught so much as learned from being in intense situations. You want to be observant at all times. Situational awareness is a real thing within the military. And so you'll find that if you go to a restaurant with a group of vets, they're kind of going to fight over who gets to like have a view of the layout, who gets to see across the restaurant. You want to know where the exits are. You want to know where people are coming from. You want to just have an idea what's going on because you don't want to have your back to the room where something could come up behind you and you would be unaware, which is interesting when you go out to eat with non-veterans because they just don't seem to care. And so they'll be like, oh yeah, we'll take the seat in the corner over here by the door. And I'm like, no, let's go over there. Or like, I want this seat. Like, it's interesting to try to explain to people who haven't been around vets, because in a group of 4 vets, we will all try to take the corner, you know, with the back to the wall and the best view, just because we like to know what's going on around us. And I don't necessarily know what that comes from, other than understanding that if you see what's coming, you have a way to escape or to plan or to take action in case of emergency, as opposed to just the sneaking suspicion that something might come up behind you that you're unaware of. Number 6 is pathological punctuality. We will be early. If you're, as I said earlier, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late, is the way the military thinks. And so we have this thing in the Marine Corps called gunny time, but every branch I think has their own version of this, where first sergeant will say everybody needs to be there at 06 for PT. So gunny will say be there at 5:45. So staff sergeant will say be there at 5:30. And the next thing you know, it's freaking 5 a.m. You're standing in the cold and the rain wondering where the heck everybody is because you got told to be there at 5 and the run doesn't start till 6. But at least you're not late, because that would be worse than standing there for an hour in the cold rain wondering why you're there. And that is an odd mentality, but it sticks with you to where you always want to be early to things, to the point where if you show up 10 minutes early to a doctor's appointment, you get kind of irritated if the doctor's not open yet, right? Like, we joke about being early to our own surprise party because you're just early to crap. It's weird to me when I host stuff and I'm like, yeah, come by at 6, and people show up at 6:30 and I'm like, man, like, you know, military time, it would have been like, hey, be here at 6. And at like 5:45, I would have been ready for people to show up because the assholes would have been there. And it's a hard habit to break, that you just instinctually want to be early to everything as opposed to ever risking being late. Number 7 is the 10-minute pack, right? We have the uncanny ability to pack everything into one bag all the time, no matter what, very quickly. So instead of taking 2 hours wondering what to wear or what to bring or what the weather's going to look like, we kind of just default to shoving everything into a bag. And vets have the simultaneous interesting problem of overpacking for everything and being able to pack faster than others. So it was always funny when I travel with buddies. I'm like, somehow I have more than you, I pack faster than you, and I'm dressed for like everything, and yet I'm still waiting on you to get ready. And we also often default to packing the day before so that the morning of you can just grab your crap and run out the door. And so it's like you kind of spot check, like I need do. Like I'll lay everything out and then just shove it in, big items on the bottom all the way up, packed for a ruck, and be done in a minute, ready to walk out the door. And my buddies are still like putting their toiletries away, and I packed way more crap than they did. And it's always funny too, because you'll go to these other countries and I'm like, dude, I didn't need half this crap. And every single time I seem to overpack just in case, because you'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And that is the way of the world in the military. Number 8 is the weather override, i.e. it's never as bad as you think. So case in point, I have been through the jungle warfare survival training, which is hot and muggy and humid in Okinawa, Japan. I was in Afghanistan from like April through December. So I kid you not, there was a day where we took a thermometer and set it in the shade while we were sitting outside doing a 30-minute class. And in the shade, right? So you would think maybe it wasn't over influenced. It read 132. So even if it's off dramatically, we're talking 110, 120 degree days all summer long. I mean, I have a blouse that is salt outline from my flak jacket that would probably still to this day stand up on its own. So hot, muggy. Then I've also done Bridgeport, which is the Marine Corps cold weather survival training, which includes the hype lab, which is where you break through the ice and jump in the freaking water and you tread water until you basically get hypothermia so they can teach you how to bring people back from hypothermia. And then we've been in the freaking pouring rain training everywhere because the Marine Corps has this cool phrase, if it ain't raining, we ain't training. And so you get to this point where you realize, like, it's not that cold. It's not that hot. It's not that wet. It's not that dry. It's all in your freaking head, and you can make do with whatever, which is a really interesting scenario when fast forward 10 years, you're like hanging out somewhere and it just starts to pour rain and everybody freaks out and runs for the hills. And you're like, whatever, just walk normal, just sit in the rain, just enjoy it. Like, it doesn't phase you the same as it probably would have prior to the military. Number 9 is fluent in acronyms. Veterans speak an entirely different language, and most of the time we don't even realize that we're doing this. If I told my friend that I was going TDY and I wouldn't be back till COB on Friday, and if he needed anything, he could reach out to my POC NLT Wednesday and have a conversation, he'd probably look at me like I had a stroke. However, every veteran knows as they listen to this that was temporary duty assignment, close of business, point of contact, and no later than. And if you knew that, you would understand exactly what I meant. The military runs on acronyms. Everything has one. And by the end of being in the military for a few years, you're going to notice that instead of saying bathroom, you say head or latrine if you were Air Force. And instead of saying okay or great, you say Roger. You don't say got it, you say Roger or copy. And you don't say relax, you say stand down or stand by. If I was to call my kid's school and say that my son was Oscar Mike to the building, the receptionist would probably have no idea what I was talking about. But we all know that I meant on the move or on the way. And that is the language that we speak in the military. And this next one is probably the most impressive to civilians. 10, the quarter bounce bed. Veterans make bed like it's an Olympic sport. Hospital corners so tight you could do surgery on them, sheets so flat you could land an airplane on them, and beds that are so well made that at recruit training, you're actually scared to use them and you just sleep on top of the sheets so that your job in the morning is a little easier. Now, the little quarter bounce thing that you've seen on movies is not just from movies. That really happens. I've had my rack flipped by a drill instructor for a wrinkle that I'm pretty sure only he could see. And there were probably 100 times in recruit training where we got to play the 2 sheets in a blanket game and remake our beds because one person wasn't fast enough, didn't stop when they were supposed to stop, or messed it up. So you get really good at this to a point where I've had people watch me remake a bed that I just got out of, and they're like, oh, you must be OCD. Like, nope, just training. First thing I do every day is make my bed before I leave the house. Don't really like the idea of my bed being a wreck. It's chaotic, it's stress, it's whatever. It's one thing you can do every morning to set your day up for success, having accomplished something and feeling like you've got a nice clean space to come back to at the end of the day. And for whatever reason, that is a universal thing for veterans. All right, guys, there's only 2 more, and number 11 coming up might actually be the most useful out of this entire list. Number 11 is instant inventory. People, service members, vets are always going to know what items they have instinctually. In their car, in their office, on their desk. They don't have to like look around. They just know. It's like a really bad forced habit to walk out of the house and go keys, wallet, phone, like wherever, all the things. In fact, when I'm on my motorcycle, I'll be riding down the street and I'm like, like every stoplight, I'm like, is it there? Okay, we're good. Like, just forget. It's like this constant paranoia that you left something behind, which usually is very beneficial because you don't actually get pickpocketed or leave crap behind or lose things because you check before you leave. Knock on wood, it's been a very long time since I left a card at a bar or a phone at a place or a whatever. And that's just kind of normal day-to-day veteran stuff, is gear accountability, right? If you don't know where your crap is, you're going to get hazed for it. Sorry, hazing is not approved anymore. So you're going to get trained for it very intensely by somebody who won't use the word hazing because they're scared of using it. It's not hazing, it's training, but you're going to learn to keep track of all your crap. That's just part of being in the military. Number 12 is an unshakable work ethic. Now, this comes up because I actually talk about this in my business. I joke with people when people want to rip off our company or copycat us, and I'm like, well, that's fine. Good luck. I'm going to outwork and outlast you. And so far, 8-9 years in, that's been true. I will outwork you. I will outlast you. We learn that, like, I'm tired or I can't, or when your body starts saying no more, it's only like 40%. You've always got more in the tank, and you learn to push that and to work harder than you thought you could. In the Marine Corps, we have this thing at the end of boot camp called the Crucible, where you just get pushed like all in for 3 days, 4 days, and it's just go, 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 go. Minimal food, constant just pressure and minimal sleep. And you're exhausted and you're pushing and you're exhausted and you're pushing and you're exhausted and you're pushing, and you don't want to let your friends down and your friends don't want to let you down. And so you push well beyond what most people would consider to be possible. And those little things embed in you this deep-seated work ethic to just get the crap done before the end of the day, which is part of the reason I think that people like hiring service members and vets, because we will get the job done. We are very committed to getting the job done, and we will work long hours if needed to get the mission accomplished. So here's the thing about all these veteran superpowers. We didn't ask for them. The military just gives them to us. It's like the Matrix. It's like a software upgrade that you didn't authorize. You're going to go through all this crap. You're going to learn all these things. Some of them are incredible. Some of them are very helpful. Some of them make people look at you like you're crazy. Some of them make you think you're crazy. Some of them drive us nuts, but we just can't help it, like making the bed every morning. And some of them are the reason that your friends and family tell you that you're the phone call when things go wrong. They're the reason that my good friend Bo says that I'm the phone call he'll make if he ever gets into a situation where he's like lost in another country and doesn't know what to do, or, you know, someone gets abducted or whatever, because they feel like the veteran superpowers we have will help us get them out of any situation and know the right move or the right phone call and stay calm in the chaos. Drop your weirdest vet superpower down in the comments. I know that there are more than 12. These are mine. I want to hear what I'm missing. If you want more military content that isn't just thank me for my service cringe, then make sure you subscribe and follow along. I post new videos every week, and check this one out because it's just as unhinged as the video you just finished.